Hello, 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 and welcome to SALTO Digital Spotlight. My name is Juha Toivol-Kiviniemi from SALTO Digital, and I will be your host today as usual. We will do a quick intro on what these sessions are about, and then I will let our guest speakers take the floor. So, Salto Digital Spotlight, previously known as Salto Digital Dialogues, is our webinar series where we explore everything connected to the digital transformation priority in the Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps programs. Our sessions are mainly aimed at national agencies and national agency staff, and especially our lovely digital contact points that work in the agencies and are guiding the digital priority in each national office. But this is also very relevant for any stakeholder on all sectors, since we do work cross-sectorally across the board, from all the way from school education to youth and everything in between. Our goal here is to give new viewpoints to the digital transformation priority. As I mentioned, both programs have it as a horizontal priority, so it should be somehow present in hopefully all the projects that happen. And we are especially interested how technology can be applied in the project in this context. We are not that interested in the technology itself here, but we are much more interested in what added value digital technology can bring to the projects. So if we are talking, for example, about virtual reality in these sessions, we are not talking about specific headsets, but rather how that can be transformative to education. And finally, as far as content goes, please do share the recordings of these sessions with colleagues and friends or whoever you feel might find this content interesting and relevant, as these recordings are available on YouTube. And new topics are always welcome. So you see on the screen our team email, so you can drop us a note there if you feel that there is something that you would like us to cover that we have not done yet, either as a topic or as a specific speaker, and we'll take it from there. Now that is all for the intro. And next, I will welcome on stage our guest speaker, Miika, also from Finland, like myself, coming from Edux near the eastern border of Finland. So Miika, welcome. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Juha. As you are told, I am Miika Miinin and I come from Edux, Lappeenranta here in Finland. And English isn't my native language, so I'm sorry in advance if there is some confusion there. And feel free to contact me and ask if something doesn't make sense. But I'm here to talk to you about the AI and pedagogy and the possibilities that AI can give to the schools and people studying in them. And first of all, we have to make our mind about what do we think about the AI. And there are two ways to look into the AI. Some people think that it's a threat, and the problem with that is that if the teachers treat the AI as threat, they turn their backs to the AI, then the students will start using AI in a manner that will replace their learning instead of helping them. They might get good grades, they might look like they are learning, it looks like they are doing everything right, but in fact, the AI is doing it for them. And meanwhile, they aren't actually learning anything but finding ways to get easy on the things they should be doing. Uh, the other way to look at this is that AI is opportunity, and this is the camp I'm in. I feel like AI will be an important tool to help students and in the smaller kids to improve their learning and well-being. And every time something new comes up, we have to think about if this is a pedagogical or a technical change. For example, a few years back, iPads, well, a few years, a decade ago, iPads were introduced to classrooms. And at least here in Finland, everyone was buzzed about them. It was, okay, we have this great new thing. This is so awesome. We can do so many new things. And schools were spending lots of money on the iPads. But in the end, it was just a technical gadget that helped us do the same things we've done before and maybe few little twists here and there. But as I see it, it was purely technical change. With AI, I feel that this is a pedagogical change. This will change the way we learn. This already is changing the way we work, we do our everyday things in life. So this is something that we have to make possible for our students to use and benefit from the AI instead of being abusers of it. And I'm going to give few examples how this has been already applied here in Lappeenranta. First thing I feel like the AI is awesome is using it as a language barrier battering ram, because language barriers is something that happens often. And I have few examples how we can use AI to make it easier to communicate with people we don't share a common language with. And first example is in PowerPoint, in the Teams Premium, in several different services or apps available already. With these programs, we can use real-time subtitles. So we can, in real time, if we are talking about something, we can get subtitles in a language of the listener. And for example, in PowerPoint, we can choose to use the language that the speaker is speaking, and then give for each listener on their own device, they can choose the language the subtitles are. Uh, the translation isn't flawless, but I feel like it's good enough. If you don't know what the speaker is speaking about, then you can check on your machine and it will give you rough guidelines at worst. At the best, it can be almost perfect translation. And how this is already being used. For example, here in Lappeenranta, we have some schools that have lots of multilingual parents. And when the school hosts a parents' evening where all the parents are called to the school and told about the everyday things they are doing there and such, um, there was the parents who didn't understand a word they were talking. And with this tool, they can at least understand 70%, 80% of the things said. And I can actually show how this works. Um, if we check here in PowerPoint, um, we have the things we are talking, like there's a language that we are talking. Here is the language that is shown to everyone on the screen. And if I start it with here, in the bottom of the screen, there should be the subtitles in language I chose there. And if we use this, we could give all the recipients opportunity to choose their own language. I don't really understand Spanish, but I hope that some of the listeners know if this is good enough. But I'm not going to use this anymore because I have some things in the other slideshow, so I'll go back there. But this is how it works. And let's go back here. Okay, let's go further. The next thing, the previous example was when the people were talking, but most of the communication, unfortunately, between the school and the homes go through text. We send emails. In Finland, we have this communication system called Vilma, where we can send messages to the homes and it's secure enough. And the same thing applies here. If the parents don't know the language, the messages bear little to none meaning for them. For here we have some AI tools to help with this. DeepL is an AI platform that is free to use to some extent, and it's actually the best quality machine translation available at the moment. And it generates texts in selected language. It translates the text you give it. It translates the documents. And then there is the DeepL Write that's like an subsection of DeepL. With this, you can improve the writing of the students. It can do the spelling check in the language. If, for example, someone is learning English, they can check the text there. If the things I write are correct, it offers you richer expressions, other ways to say the things. It can help you choose the style if you are writing a formal text or if you are writing a humorous text. It offers you different ways to improve the writing. And with DeepL and DeepL Write, the communication via text goes much smoother between the school and the homes. And DeepL is actually even downloadable Chrome extension, so you don't even have to go to the page if you use the extension. But let's go further. Uh, Using generative AI, for example, ChatGPT or Copilot or Gemini or basically any of the available generative AIs, you can help modify the texts to suit the level of the reader. For example, in Finland, many of the books and the materials we use, they are aimed at the native speaker level. And that is problematic for someone who isn't a native speaker. They are usually using the same books and same materials, but you can use the generative AI to help with this problem. For example, you take ChatGPT or Copilot, and first of all, I recommend you should ask it to explain what is CEFR, because in that way you invoke the things that the AI knows what we are talking about. It explains to you this, okay, this is the common European framework for different language levels, etc. And then after that, when you kind of like woke up the AI that, okay, this is the thing we are doing, then you can use these simple prompts like rewrite this text to be at CEFR A2 level, and then you insert the text that you are using. And the AI will turn it to A2 level, which is much more suitable for someone who doesn't really understand the language correctly. Or you can use it the other way around. If someone needs to improve their language, you can use it to use for C2 level and give like more specific instructions like focus on the sophisticated vocabulary or nuanced argumentation, etc. And this way the text will meet the reader in a new level. Okay, let's go further. The second part, how we can use AI, is as a research assistant. But before we can do that, we need to set some guidelines or learn how to use it. The first problem here in Finland was that there wasn't an AI service that the students could use. But now, just I'm not sure how long this has been available, but we found it just a few weeks ago. There is a Duck AI made by the same people who made DuckDuckGo search engine. And this is something that the students could use. It doesn't collect the data of the user. It doesn't use that data to further enhance the language models. It doesn't require a registration. So we checked with this, and there is no restrictions why this couldn't be used by any student who is at least 13 years of age. Unfortunately, at the moment, no AI service is available for kids that are under 13, but I don't really think that it's important to use generative AI before that, so I don't think that's a big problem. But this is something that, at least in Finland, is possible to use with the kids. And the next thing, now we have a tool we can use. And how we use it, we have to use it in a proper manner. We have to create good prompts to get the best results out of the machine. And here is something that you should try and you should recommend everyone to try, because AI is awesome at creating prompts. It knows how to do things properly. So here's an example. This is a way to create like cut tier, like really good prompts for yourself. You tell first, okay, we need a good prompt. And I'm working, and then tell where you are working. For example, here in ad agency. And I'm creating a text for an ad. These, where you are working, what you are trying to do, these can be changed for whatever you need. And then you tell the AI to ask you 10 questions, one at a time, and then generate the prompt to help you produce the end product you are looking for. And usually the AI might give you just 10 questions, but I recommend you tell them one at a time, because then you get the AI will like do give you the best results for the end product. Okay, let's see what kind of things can be done there. Now, one thing how AI has been used here is to create copyright-free information packages. Gemini Deep Research or similar services such as Copilot, Codeeper, or ChatGPT Deep Search, they do like usually when you use generative AI, it gives you a quick answer based on the data it has been used and some internet searches. With deep research, it takes few minutes to go through, but it creates like a much more sophisticated, much more nuanced answer. It does kind of like a small research. It finds out the things that are important for this topic, and then it generates you this whole package with the sources marked as properly required. And this is something that can be used preparing for tests, for example. If students are studying World War II, they can use this kind of deep research tools to create the information packages for themselves. And one significant benefit is that deep research creates you a podcast about the topic. So, for example, people who are dyslexic, they have problem reading the materials. So in this way, they can generate the information package they need to acquire, and after that, they can listen it in a podcast form, which helps them so that the dyslexic properties won't be restricting their learning and their chances in life. And this can be also used to summarize wide range of different kind of materials in one easy to understand, uh, really crystallized information. Another thing, how things can be done is to build your own special purpose AI agents. They have different names depending on the provider of the service, but the idea is that you can give certain roles for the AI and they will do the things you ask them to. Everything is achievable with prompts also, but that's in many cases more cumbersome and the results are less reliable that way. And here is one example. I need some new. Let's take random news there. Okay, this is too short. Something. Oh, these are videos. Just a moment. There. Here I will take this text. The text can be much longer, but I will insert it to my summarizer and I will get, based on the things I ask, it gives me a quick summary, it gives me the most important points, and it creates a dictionary for me. And these are really easy to create. Here is all I needed to tell this. Summarize any given text, pick three most important things, and create a dictionary from the terms of the text. And these can be used, for example, the students, if they have to go through a lot of texts, they can give it here and they can get the quick summarizations of the things they are studying. Let's go further. This is my absolute personal favorite AI service, Notebook LM by Google. It searches information, it compares different sources, it provides you sources where it finds the texts, and as the Gemini Deep Research, it creates podcasts from the materials. And a little bit later, I will show you one example how this was used. But now let's go further. Let's peek into the classrooms. What have been done in Lappeenranta throughout the different years of schools? The first thing, when we are using AI in school, we need guidelines. And we've created some guidelines for the staff and for the students. And the idea with these is that they can be printed out and they can be put on the walls of the classroom. And for the staff, you need to guide, you need to give how the AI can be used in a responsible manner. Clearly explain the assignments, how AI can be used, and we have created traffic lights that I will show you in a moment. The second thing is that be safe. Use only the allowed AI applications at work. So first, constantly there are coming new AI apps, but the thing with them is that you don't really know what's happening there. So we recommend that the stuff stays within the limits of the ones that we have deemed good enough or safe enough for the use. Uh, Everyone should be careful. They shouldn't provide any personal data or confidential information to the AI because you never know what's going to be done with those. You have to be critical. The information provided by the AI, you can trust it. It is, in the end, it's just educated guessing at best. You have to respect the copyrights. You can't just paste something that you don't own to the AI. But even after all these restrictions, we recommend that the teachers are brave. They can try how to use it, and we recommend that they share their success stories and especially the failures they've had with their colleagues so that the skills in using AI will spread as wide as possible. And for the students, they need to get the permission to use AI at this moment because AI is new technology and it can be used in malicious ways. They have to remember that the AI is the sidekick of the story. Make sure that the AI isn't replacing their learning. They also have to be critical, they also have to respect the copyrights, and they have to be responsible. One of the students, the teachers in local high school gave this awesome example that if they go to the gym, they don't just go there and watch the machines do the exercises. They have to do the work and the machines will help. And this same applies to AI. And they have to be careful, not provide the personal data and confidential information to the AI. And here are generative AI traffic lights. Each task or assignment the teacher gives, they need to give the appropriate color to that. If the color is red, generative AI may not be used in any form in the task. Generative AI is restricted here. Well, the AI is restricted to generative AI because you can't use any application at the moment without using some kind of AI. If you use Word, there is AI that checks your spelling, etc. But the generative AI, where you ask it to do something and it creates it for you. These traffic lights apply to those kind of services, ChatGPT, Copilot, DALI, etc. With yellow, generative AI may be used, but you have to tell how it was used according to teacher's instruction. Teachers will give you the instructions, for example, what services did you use, what were the main inputs you used, or so forth. But this is something, okay, you can use it, but you have to tell how you used it so the teacher can monitor if it's going to the right direction. And with the green, AI is actually mandatory part of the task. You have to use it, but you still need to tell how it was used. So in the yellow, you can choose if you want to use it, and green, you have to use it or you aren't doing the assignment. Now, let's see a few examples how AI has been used here. This is from the kindergarten. The teacher is using the AI to create fairy tales for the kids. And the teacher is asking questions about, okay, where are the heroes going? Is it a castle or is it space or whatever? Who are the heroes? What kind of problems do they face? What are their names? The questions can be anything. The main thing is that the kids get to give their input to the story. And the idea is that the AI will generate a fairy tale that is customized for the kids. And it's really easy after that to create a coloring picture for the kids. based on the story. Here is something that the kids did. It was some space guy in a cloak uh, having adventures with his sidekick in a medieval castle. So when they are listening to the fairy tale they just created, they can be coloring the things and bring it to life in a new way. This is just something, one small thing from the kindergarten. In elementary school, we used Meshi. It's an 3D modeling AI. You can give it pictures. For example, the students can draw a picture in 2D, and the Meshi will create a 3D model based on that. Or you can use text. You can type down what you want, so the students can tell, okay, this is the thing I want to do. And those 3D models can be downloaded and further modified by all the regular programs. For example, here is one thing students did. Uh, Based on the picture they drew, there is this teacher dragon that has been since 3D printed out in our Innovating, which is like a place we have here in Lappeenranta. And this way, the students can create game pieces, dioramas, tangible objects about the topic you are doing. But the idea is that you can get physical objects from a prompt or a drawing you did. This is something that the elementary kids really seem to be enjoying. And then the last example from the school comes from high school, and this is on the notebook alarm I was talking about. When the presidential election in US was going on, they used Notebook LM to collect data. They collect news and information about Trump and about Harris. And they were using like the full spectrum of the political views. So how does the far left see Trump and how does the far right see Harris? And they inserted all that information to that notebook album, and then they were talking with the material. They were figuring out which one would be the best president for Finland, for Europe, for the views that they have, for someone else. They had to like figure out what kind of things are important. Is it safety? Is it the business side? Is it the values? What are the important things? And how will each presidential elect uh, effect on those views, and who should be the better one based on those things. Uh, One more thing that the AI is doing at the moment, it is making everything faster. For example, back in the days, if you had to find out something, you needed to do a Google search, or even before that, you had to go to library and read about things. And you had to formulate your own opinion, own view on the things. But now what the AI is doing, that you can just ask the question and the AI will do the thinking for you. You will get the fast answer on anything. It might be wrong, it usually is right, but it's something that you don't really have to think about yourself. And this is something that I find a little bit scary and something that we have to acknowledge. And another example of this is the Kahoot. I'm not sure if you are available, not available. If you know what Kahoot is, it's this like quiz game where there comes this question on the screen and everyone on their own phone answer as fast as possible. And this is something that, at least in Finland, many teachers feel like, okay, this is the digitalization, this is good for learning. But I don't really understand what's the point here. The only thing you are learning is to read fast and just take your best guess. That's not something that's really useful in the real life. The other, that's like the deadline. You have to answer fast. It doesn't matter if it's correct or not, as long as you are the fastest one. The other kind of deadline is with escape rooms. You have a set amount of time. You have 1 hour. You have to get out of this room. You have to uh, solve all these puzzles, you have to cooperate, you have to find out, you have to use your brains and the materials you have. This is the kind of deadline I prefer. This is something I think that the school should be using more. It prepares you for the work life. You have deadlines, you have to get things done in certain time, not answer in few seconds as in Kahoot's case. And with the AI, I think we should be going for the escape roomish kind of tasks. You have to use your brain to get to the end. Okay, this is the last slide. I hope I'm still in my budgeted time. There are some skills because the AI is really pedagogical change, and it will form new ways how we use our brain, how we work, how we do things. And some skills will become obsolete in near future, but there are some skills that will stand the test of time, no matter what happens. Resilience is something that you should focus on. You have to be able to face problems. You have to be able to take punches and get up. And this is something that we should learn from the young age on. If you face some hard times, you just have to push through. You have to be resilient. You have to take charge and be strong about the uh, winds that are blowing in your way. The second really important thing is assessing the truth, because back in the days there was the correct information, the incorrect information, and probably some outdated information. After that, there has been an influx of uh, misinformation, disinformation, and now the AI is creating hallucinated information. So there is a lot more different kinds of information that isn't correct. So you have to find the truth. You have to be able to learn how to get to the bottom, how you can be sure that this thing I am doing, this is the correct way. This is the factual information I am using. This is something that will be even more important in the future. Social skills is something that can't be underestimated because the machines will be doing all the algorithmical tasks in future. The social skills, the communication between people is something that will have like renaissance, because these skills will be more valued because the machines will do the things where you don't really need social skills. And no matter what happens, you need to keep learning, because the skills we will be needing in 20 years might be something that aren't even available at the moment. If you know how to learn things, then you can cope with any new things or any new problems that are coming up. Here is everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for listening and have a good day. Bye bye.
There we go. Had trouble finding myself in the many screens. Thank you so much, Miika, for your input. That was really thought-provoking. One thing that kind of jumped out to me immediately from what you were talking about was that when we get into discussions about artificial intelligence, we tend to, at least at the moment, we tend to talk a lot about generative AI in its most basic form. And we also tend to be, I feel, again, very problem centric in the sense that the discussions that we keep having are whether young people, learners, students, whichever is the context, whether they are using ChatGPT or other similar tools in a way that is harmful, or they are cheating with that, and how to kind of combat that. So it's very kind of problem centric. And I really love that how much you framed what you were talking about, the tools you were talking about in terms of inclusion, right? So inclusion of learners, rewriting materials for a language level. I remember there was an example from France as well, using AI to support language learning at one point. Research tools running a podcast for someone who is a audio-based learner instead of reading, and kind of I don't know if you said it directly, but I felt like these AI assistants could be used to practice this dreaded I have to speak in front of the class, right? Everyone remembers that from school when we had to do that, and it was a super kind of hard task to do once you did it for the first time. So I really like this inclusion aspect. And my question to you maybe would be that, is it in pedagogy, in your experience, is it an intentional use of AI to increase inclusion? Is it a happy accident, or is it a bit of a mix?
I think it's a little bit of mix of the both, because whenever there is something new coming up, people will try different things, and maybe they stumble upon something that they didn't even expect that this would be. But I think that at least many teachers and the specialists here in Finland are trying to find out the ways how we could use this to help those in less fortunate circumstances. For example, if they have some problems with their learning or problems with their, uh, for example, if they are afraid to ask for help, then we could use the AI in a manner that they have their personal AI tutor that they could ask these questions that they might be too scared to ask from the teacher because the other kids might be laughing at them or stuff like that. This is something that we feel could be really big in helping the kids with the mental health issues that have been on the rise, unfortunately, here in Finland.
There are obviously a lot of implications with AI and with other technological advances as well in terms of digital skills. In the next session, we'll have another colleague talking especially from the viewpoint of the digital skills and how these frameworks need to respond to the changing technology, right? So, my question maybe to you would be, how do you see the need for skills changing? You spoke in the end about resilience, assessing the truth, social skills, and keeping learning. So, is there something that will kind of be more important than ever in terms of digital skills in your viewpoint?
Okay, I feel like those four will be really important. And I think that one more thing that we'll probably have like new coming is like the craft skills, because AI is far from the point where it could create something with their hands, because at the moment they are text based. So I feel like the things that can't be done with the machines, the things that require you to do the manual labor, will be more important in the future than they are at this very moment.
I really liked you spoke in the beginning about how AI is framed in schools in Lappeenranta in terms of guidelines to teachers, right? So you need to have certain kind of principles and rules and strategies how you work on a local level with that, and I really like that. Maybe for our listeners who aren't aware of the Finnish kind of context, how common is this in Finland to have this kind of guidelines in place?
I feel like they aren't that common yet. Uh, our local, like the Finnish government, just released a few months back, like the guidelines, and they are still finding their place. Not all teachers haven't even read them yet, and the schools have been in a bit something like a crisis mode, because this came without any warning beforehand. The AI just stumbled into the classroom and the students were using it. So I feel like it has been more like a fire department putting out fires than actually creating a strategic planning how we can use this. And now I feel like we are in a point where the tools are familiar enough for the schools. The kids have done their first few years using them. And I think now we can start creating these guidelines and actually be the driver in this car instead of a passenger.
That's a really good metaphor. Um, how do you see, from your experience, because Lappeenranta has been able to create these kind of guidelines locally, how do you see the need for broader guidelines to be in place, either nationally or even on a European level? What would you see that is needed for schools to be able to use AI responsibly, safely, and to quote the AI Act in a human-centric way? What do you see as what's needed?
Uh, I think that if there is a a great guideline from the EU, that could help. But I feel like each and every school needs to have their own like modified for their needs, their uh, students and their like infrastructure. because the differences between schools, between the classrooms, between the individual students are so huge that there can't be this single guideline that everyone follows. It has to be fit for the users. So I think that maybe it could be done like a city level, that okay, this is our city's way, but bigger than that, it needs to be tailored for the user.
Yeah, that's most likely true for any European guideline as well, that it needs to be specific enough to make sense in a digital education context, but also it needs to be broad enough to include different realities from different member states. So it's not an easy task for sure.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask, a very specific question. There was a huge discussion in the youth field where I come from, and around digital games, like whether we should um, adhere to the age restrictions of different digital games when we use them with young people, or whether we can kind of break the mold a little bit. Like this was a huge ongoing discussion in the youth field on a European level, even at one point. You mentioned age restrictions in some AI tools. So is it for schools, is it very natural that, of course, they are being used according to the age level that is specified by the manufacturer of that AI, or is there some wiggle room in that?
I kind of feel that as a school, we are showing the way for the kids how this society works. And if, as a school, we start to bend the rules, I think it's the wrong message for the kids to be sent. So the age restrictions are there for a reason. So I think we should follow them.
Yeah, that is what the youth field also arrived at with the digital games, pretty much. So we should be showing the way. Final question, kind of bringing you to where you started from. You mentioned that there are kind of two camps still within the education community, whether you're embracing the kind of opportunities of AI or whether you are really resistant to it. Since AI is here without a doubt, and it's not going away anytime soon. So how, as a educational sector, how can we start addressing those resistant mindsets and kind of start convincing them that AI actually is also an opportunity?
I feel like we need to give them training. We need to show them the ways that they can benefit from it, because at least how I feel it is that a lot of the restraint comes from the fear that this is something that I can't handle, this is something that will just make problems. If we can get them to see the benefits of the tool, I feel like they will be on board also.
That's a good note to end on. Thank you so much, Miika, for your time and for today's inputs.
Thank you very much, Juha, for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Salto Digital Spotlight will continue in about a month, so stay tuned for the next session. Thank you for everyone's time.
Bye bye.